I'll talk about that if I have to. So the masculine is the King of Swords. Let's just flip this over. I feel like it wants to be up. As the King of Swords. So the masculine is residing, Libra, in his power and in his thinking, which isn't a bad thing. I feel like he's come to a place where his thoughts are elevated and divinely guided, and he's becoming more and more aware of the power of his spoken word and written word and the words that he puts out into the spaces around him and the communication that he offers to people. I feel like there's been a lot of work for the Gemini masculine energies in this regard of tailoring his thoughts and becoming more and more aware of where those thoughts arise from. And not even necessarily that that's so important, but being aware of your thoughts is. And I feel like that's the realization that he's moving through March with. So, let's see the feminine on this side. There it is. The Three of Swords in reverse. So, it could have to do with the masculine, your masculine feminine that you have in your heart or relate to. I feel like there's been a moving through of some heartache and pain and sorrow and getting over and healing the wounds of a past heartbreak. And I feel like this is really recent because it did jump out as I was shuffling, and now it's here in your main position, feminine. That you've been tending to past wounds, and it's almost like you felt all of these accumulated tiny little cuts or slits or wounds or happenings or disappointments in your heart have all built up in the past for you to experience just like enough. You don't want to feel that pain anymore, and you really have wanted to get to the bottom of where this deeply felt underneath the surface experience of sorrow is coming from, feminine. And taking responsibility for how you've been showing up in relationships for the masculine or for others in general. And coming to a greater understanding and forgiveness and healing from these past experiences in order to move forward with a higher knowledge and more wisdom in your heart, having gone through those heartbreaks. So let's see what's underneath in the subconscious. Because after all, with the Four of Wands, this is what you're aiming for and desiring in your heart. And that's what has been driving your decision making, but maybe not from a healthy place. But now in March, going into the new moon energies here pretty soon, and then a second full moon at the end of the month, what's underneath your healing and forgiveness is you wanting to come to a place of true celebration in your life, not something that is surfacey or masked, or just really authentic, true love of yourself and of the people that you involve yourself with, Libra. If I said Gemini, I'm sorry. I just did Gemini, but this is the Libra reading. Maybe you are dealing with a Gemini because that keeps coming through. Being an air sign, and you have these swords here. And more swords. The Nine of Swords with the Five of Swords. Knowing that the release of the tenderness of your heart is your responsibility, and nobody can untie this but you. She's very well equipped to, she's not tied up that tightly to untie the knot. She can figure it out. Even though she can't see it, she can feel it. And by feeling the feelings that may be uncomfortable is going to help you. I feel like this is a message for the feminine. Help you untie yourself from these energies so that you can release the pettiness. And maybe a Gemini person, maybe this was a love triangle and the Gemini person was a bit of a distraction for you, feminine. So that was just a little additional message there. Let's see what the underlying energies are for the masculine Libra. So this is your card, the Justice, and it's in reverse. And it is a major arcana card. So for the masculine, I feel like in March he's undergoing this process of really trying to understand what's right in the world, like what's correct and what's true. And I feel like there may be a little bit of a hiccup or confusion in the middle of the month, that he's seeking more clarity, and the way that he's seeking it is through his brain, in his head. Because there's a sword here and the King of Swords. The swords are going in opposite directions here. So the center point of them would be the heart. So coming masculine into more of a heart space, that's where you're going to find the clarity and the answers, and be able to address the feminine and your outer world and even yourself with more of a loving kindness and compassionate nature from your heart space, instead of trying to muscle through it with logic. I want to put this here, the little heart. So let's see the above border conscious energies, the Fool. So Libra, masculine. So another major arcana card in reverse. I feel like the situation that you're dealing with, masculine, is like you're wanting to work things out with the feminine, whoever that is for you. Like, I feel like you want to redo. Like, oops, I didn't mean to say it in that way. And you want to do a retake. Because he's not going out in a different direction on a new journey away from her. He's flipped over looking back at her. And maybe had given her some space to deal with this other person in her life, or the situation that needed to have some healing time and letting go of. And now I feel like the masculine is ready more to pursue the feminine, but masculine, again, be aware the way that you're communicating to her, and take the time to get centered before you reach out and make those communications, because I feel like they're going to land easier, and the feminine will be more receptive to your messages, if they're not so forceful, but coming from a place of emotional responsibility and emotional intelligence. Okay. Let's move up here for the feminine. The Page of Swords, another sword. So this is the message card. And I feel like she doesn't have to pick up her sword to go to battle or fight, because this card is in reverse here, as long as the masculine is coming from a place of, again, emotional responsibility and taking responsibility for his part in the matter. Because if he doesn't, she's she's going to feel like it's the same old conversation and, oh, here we go again. And she's not really interested in engaging in this battle. It feels undercutting and a little petty and quick, just sort of out of instinct and old habits. But ultimately, underneath, that doesn't feel good to her, and that's not what she wants to be creating with the masculine. So, both of you, masculine and feminine, I want you to watch your intentionality in your communications and being aware of your motivations for what you say and why to anybody in your life, but particularly your counterpart in the month of March. And I feel like that's going to be the balm that soothes this sharpness that could be happening. Excuse me. So the central energies is the Hanged Man. Yeah, so pausing and coming from this place of inner illumination and divine guidance, like letting your higher self guide you with these people in your life, with yourself, and making sure that you're doing the work to be solid internally before you reach out to anybody. And sort of tempering your impulses to just like zoom out these messages that are, what's the word I'm looking for? Just impulsive, which I feel like is only going to get you a response from the other in a reactive way instead of a kind, compassionate, thoughtful response. So we're moving from reaction to responsiveness, which also relates to responsibility, is the theme here. So I feel like that's pretty clear, Libra. I'll pull you an oracle card too to clarify and get some additional messages. Let's do this one. Using the Crystal Wisdom Healing Oracle by Judy Hall. I love my oracle cards. They usually reaffirm and solidify the message that needs to be heard, Libra. And if this isn't resonating for you, do keep in mind it is a general reading, so check out your moon and rising and Venus signs. That one already came out for another sign. We'll go with it because it flipped out. So halite, number 41. Which adds up to a 5. Which the 5 of Swords is, I believe you're only 5. Yeah. Okay. The Master Cleanser. Halite draws out impurities from your physical, energetic, and soul bodies. It dissolves old patterns, negative thoughts, and toxic emotions, promoting emotional well-being. I think that's a message for the masculine. Halite stimulates the meridians and grounds the healing properties of other crystals. Subtle ties and influences may be affecting you more than you recognize. I feel like that's a message for the feminine. The subtle ties and influences. Unacknowledged feelings of abandonment or rejection or emotional neediness may underlie dis-ease. Detrimental energies picked up under the influence of drink or drugs could be affecting you, as could someone else's lustful or jealous feelings. But being spaced out and ungrounded also leaves you open to invasion by external forces. It's time for a thorough clear out in your life. Declutter your space, including your car. Detox your body and mind, and try a juice fast for vitality. So the soul path is purification and spiritual discernment. And which I feel like is completely appropriate. Feminine, again, it was reiterating for you these past hurts and little wounds that need a little bit of attention and some final healing on, so that this root energy for you, the Four of Wands, can bubble up to the surface and be in your everyday experience of joy and celebration. But it needs to pass through this Three of Swords energy in order to be placed up in your conscious experience. But that's a positive thing. I used to not like the word healing because I was like, oh man, more? Are you kidding me? How much do we have to do? But Libra, it is an ongoing process, and there are so many layers to a human being and our experience, and the layers of the onion. And as you get deeper, you get more into the core issues as we age and we gain wisdom, and the uncovering and the illumination from these different experiences in our past, whether they be in this life or previous lives that we're carrying with us, are opportunities for alchemical transformation. And if we didn't have them, this wouldn't be possible. The light needs the dark, and the dark needs the light in order for each of them to exist. So just know that in your heart, both masculine and feminine, that you are on the right path. Watch your words, masculine, and understand, do the work to understand where they're coming from and your intention behind them.